Actually, I'm just gonna say a little bit of shade, bit of shade. I love girls' names, I think, in Scandinavian, like, I don't want to say names of my friends, but a lot of girls' names to me sound quite masculine. Hello, friends, family, and of course, concerned onlookers. It's Rose here, and my internet is down in my house. So I thought I would actually make a video. Whilst I am not ready to have a baby just yet, I am really ready to start thinking about baby names. This is, to be honest, a lifelong project of mine. I've always loved, even as a child, reading baby name books, thinking about the appropriateness of a name, the connotations of a name, what its etymology is. Culture and names and language and names is obviously so linked. So I'm married to a Norwegian and I need something that will work in both Norway and England. And seeing as everything Scandi is quite chic at the moment, I thought I would just introduce you to some of the most common Norwegian names and what I think from a British perspective, and this is completely my own perspective, and I'm going to be a bit tongue-in-cheek and I'm going to be really rude and I'm going to be really honest. Wait, that was a Freudian slip. But I'm just saying, I've had this conversation with many Norwegian friends, and like one of them always loves to say, like, you English people, you butcher your names, you have these beautiful names, and then you just like shorten them like Thomas Tom. And he hates it. So I think it definitely goes both ways. I'm just saying what names sound like to me, in my opinion, and which names I like, which names are less appropriate. There's a Norwegian boy's name Odd. There's a Norwegian boy's name Semen, which is like Simon. And so obviously you can't name your child Odd or Semen in the UK or an English speaking country. But there are a lot more names that are very common here and I want to just discuss them. They are fun. They have a lot of sounds that we don't have in English. And I knew none of these before I moved here. I had connotations of what I thought, Scandinavian names were like. I'm going to put on the screen now the top baby names for 2018. And as you can see, I actually can't be very rude about them because most of them are English. Although, I mean, it's great for me because I can say all of them. So sad globalization aside, these are the top names in Norway at the moment. The problem is with all names that go onto the most popular list, then I'm like, I immediately can't use them. So like Oliver is a name I've always liked since I was a child and now off the list. Top names, you've got Lucas, Emma, Nora, Olivia, very similar to England. Then you've got like Amelia and Amalia, which really nice. It's just, how many other people in a class do you want to be called that? But I really like a lot of these. Jacob, I like. Noah, I think that's quite American, isn't it? What's quite interesting to do is also look at the breakdown by region. So you can see in Oslo, top name was Mohammed, reflecting the more diverse population. In Trondheim, where I live, the most popular names were Elias and Emma. So not very unique on the Emma, but Elias, that's a very Norwegian name. I work in a school which is also prime baby name fodder. So every day I just get I just get to see like hundreds of kids who then colour my opinion about names. And there is the same trend happening here that's happening in the UK. So names that were popular about 100 years ago are coming back into fashion. However, I looked through the records of what was the top name, and until about like literally 60 or 70 years ago, it's the same name for girls for like 100 years. What can I say? They just love the name Anna a lot. Everybody is called Anna, everybody's called Kåre, and there's like 3 names, and they just used to have nicknames that they would be like, Big Anna, Little Anna, and that's how people would differentiate themselves. So these are from the SSB, the like National Bureau of Statistics in Norway, and looking through, we've got some different names in the 20s. We've got Solveig, which is a really popular girl's name. So I think it is a traditional name, kind of a grown-up, sophisticated woman's name. 1930, you have Björg, which is my grandmother-in-law's name, and which I just think doesn't work in English at all. It sounds a bit like something from Star Trek.
No offense. You also have Astrid, and so Astrid and Ingrid in Trøndersk, which is the dialect where I live, are pronounced like Asti and Ingrid, which I think sound really nice.
And then back in the 40s, they switched back to Alma because, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
1977, you've got the rise of Linda. I haven't met a Norwegian Linda yet. I live in hope. Then for the modern names, so the names of my contemporaries, my generation, you have Ida, which I love, Taya, which I love, and then the rise of kind of Emma and Nora. I love vowel sound names like Ida. I think they just sound really clean and kind of crystalline. To the boys' names, loads of these are still super common today. You've got Ola, Olav, Johan, Jan. I meet loads of people with these names. They're all super common and very traditional, often Scandinavian, Viking, Norse roots.
A really common and traditional boy's name is Ola, which to me, because it ends in an E, but to me it sounds the same as if it ends in an A, basically. A little bit different. Oh, my husband's always on at me about the difference between E and A. I digress. To me that sounds quite feminine. Like Ola sounds quite feminine to me. That's the name of the head of Eurovision, by the way, Jon Ola Sons. But to me, it's not a very boyish name. In general, I find boys' names harder, um, not harder to like, but there's just it's harder to get right, I think. For example, the name Emil is a really nice name. I don't know if you could use it in the UK. As discussed, the name's odd, and Semen speak for themselves. But there are also names like Ivan, which has the and a diphthong, and I don't think it would work in the UK. Well, I have a friend called Owen, and he just got used to people saying his name wrong when he lived in the UK. And, I, for a long time, couldn't say his name. Probably am still not saying it right, and he's a friend of mine, and it sucks. Grower boy names, I think, as I've said, Ruar, and also Terrier. But I have been one round to that name. I like it more. I think it means spear in Old Norse. That is also the issue with a lot of really Norwegian names. Like, that is one thing that's stopping me from going really native, is that all Norwegian names that are traditional are to do with battle implements. They're like sword, shield, spear. I think a name that could be really big in the UK, and it's not particularly to my taste because it's so trendy, but just how in the UK names like bear are quite big at the moment. I think there's a name here which is spelt raw. It's pronounced like ruar, but that would be quite cool. I could see a little boy called Raw. That's quite a good name. A name that I really like is Aurora, because obviously where we live we get the Aurora Borealis in the winter. I haven't actually seen it yet. We're getting to Northern Light season. Nordlys, it's such a big thing here. And it would be quite cool to have a little baby called Aurora. But Norwegians say it differently. I'm not a big fan of how they say it. It's like pronounced Aurora. And I don't like that as much as Aurora. I prefer the English pronunciation. But maybe that's just because I'm biased. But I think that's one of my favourite Norwegian names. It's quite modern. I mean, it's a princess from Sleeping Beauty. So it's a Disney princess. It's a little, uncomfortable for me, but I quite like that. And if I had a boy, so if I had a girl, I would name it Aurora. If I had a boy, I don't know. I thought I would make this video to introduce some really typical Norwegian names to the wider world. And if you are in a multicultural relationship, I'm really interested to see how other people have coped with this. Whether you've gone like, fully Norwegian, fully English, or kind of tried to go in the middle. Also replace Norwegian with, wherever your significant other comes from. I've really enjoyed having a little chit chat. The internet is back now, so don't worry, I can go back on Instagram and I won't bother you anymore. I'm always interested. I love names, so I'm happy to talk about any names, any from any cultures, and just like spitball a bit, guys. So yeah,